All right. Well, today, the man of many names, the big stud, WinRate, all the different things, owner, CEO of WinRate Consulting, Mike Claudio.
What's up, man?
What's up, dude?
It's cool, man.
What timing, right? I text you and I'm like, are you ever coming back to Dallas? You're like, yeah, like in
3 days.
3 days.
Yeah. It just happened to work out that like this time of day worked because I couldn't have made any other time today work.
Yeah.
So this is strategic timing for
well,
sure.
It's good because I got a flight out tomorrow morning. I'm going to Nashville tomorrow. So
Perfect.
It's this is all work. The stars aligned.
Yeah.
So
God made this happen.
Yeah. So no, man, it's great to see you. It's great to we worked together for a long time, and then hadn't talked in a while. I mean, we keep up on social media every now and then and stuff, but I don't know. I'm just kind of excited for everyone to hear your story and hear what an impact you made on the where this company's at today. So
it's cool to see clients like in the future, because a lot of what I teach takes time to pay off.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like an overnight ROI type thing, like building leaders and like separating from partnerships and raising capital, like, different clients, different things.
Yeah.
But a lot of times what I help people with, like you may not see for 18 or 24 months, the real return on it. So seeing a client like 3 years later, upgrading offices and 10 employees and, with you a ton of, just things under management, like that wasn't there.
Yeah.
And like could only have happened over time.
Right.
Right. And I think it's so cool for me to like keep in touch with clients over time because I do fall in love with my clients, man. Like I love the journey and the challenges. And, we had some great conversations and some big evolution early on. And, it takes time to see some of that come to the P&L, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And so it's cool to see like come back around and get engaged with people in the future. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. It's like watching your garden grow a little bit,
Yeah. That tree you planted years ago finally sprouting. But no, it's been a fun journey making an impact on people.
Yeah. No, I like to say that you're the guy that you can analyze a situation really quick and then look straight into someone's soul and tell them exactly what they need to do.
Yeah, I tell them what they need to hear, maybe not what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Right? I'm really good at that.
Yeah.
But no, it's true. I've built a skill set around being able to take what I would consider limited information, and plug that into my data analysis or my algorithm, we'll call it, over years of doing this and be able to spit out, very tactical information. Like I've realized I'm a really good blend of visionary and integrator. And so like I've been able to deploy that differently lately. There's a lot of things that you don't even know about that are happening right now because it's not really public knowledge. I'm sure we'll get into today at some point. But like I've now been able to figure out how to capitalize on that in certain arenas differently. Because there's certain times like being a visionary is really powerful.
Yeah.
But if you can't get down and like meet somebody where they are and give them the tactical advice to do something, all the vision in the world doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Because it's so hard for people in different seasons of business or life to be able to see what you see with the experience. Like if I came to you and was like, hey man, look at this commercial deal. You're like, in 13 seconds, you would know 1,000 data points on that thing, just knowing what you know.
Yeah.
And so similar concept, right? Like I look at business the way you look at commercial real estate.
Right.
Right. You could analyze something. You have your team can go in and look at this, do an inspection, know this, know that. Cap rates, like net lease, like you have all that. And so it doesn't take you long to analyze a deal.
Yeah.
It would take me forever.
Right.
But like vice versa, like the way that I understand business is, I got to figure out, at this point I've coached over 300 companies, right?
Wow.
So I've seen under the hood of a lot of different ecosystems, and what's cool is every business I help implement something, I learn more effective ways to implement it in the next one. So each client actually makes me better for the next client.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm probably a better coach now than I was 3 years ago. I'm sure I'm a better coach now than I was 3 years ago when we worked together.
Yeah.
But sometimes that I'm dealing with bigger companies now. So like me going back and coaching, like not you, but like $1 million construction company.
Right.
It would be so difficult for me to do that at this point.
Yeah.
Like I'm coaching $50 million companies now. And so like going back and managing those early on, like it would wear me out at this point.
Yeah.
Just like you, like going back to a $250,000 industrial deal, would you be like, I'm not touching that?
We had this conversation today. They had a $1.5 million deal. And I go, why don't y'all y'all sign the debt? Like y'all go get it all done.
Yeah.
I'll invest with you.
Yeah.
Let me know how it goes.
And so, but I think that's a skill set that I've been able to look at now and say, how do I deploy the visionary side of my skill set to maximize return? And then also, how do I deploy the integrator part of my skill set to maximize return? I've figured it out in a way that's worked really well.
Yeah.
Recently.
No, that's it'd be interesting to see like where we're at, like where you're at now with where I'm at now
comparatively,
where that could go, type thing. It's well, let's just kind of get into your background real quick so that my audience knows who you are,
sure.
Just kind of where you're from, where you've been,
Yeah.
So we'll get into where you're going.
So currently, I am CEO of 3 companies now. So WinRate Consulting, Zero Doubt Marketing, and Zero Doubt Management are 2 entities I started last year for a specific reason I'll get to here in a second. But my background started, I'll tell the short mid story, right? Yeah. So I was a high school and collegiate athlete, failed out of college, got a job in retail sales for Verizon Wireless. That was a good 10-year career of corporate sales and sales leadership. I transitioned from retail to B2B and then like major accounts and B2B management. Like I just had a very good, solid core competency in sales and sales leadership. Like that's really where I would say like my career started. Yeah. Got burned out in corporate America, went into the remodeling space as a key employee, helped a company scale. That ran its course, went to a roofing company, similar thing, helped a company scale. That ran its course. And over the course of this probably 15-year period, people just started asking me questions, which you've heard the story before in general. And like, I just like helping people. Like I love coaching people. Yeah. And so I just started helping people, answering questions. People would call me. I'm doing like coaching calls. Like I didn't know what coaching was when I first started doing it, as like what I know it now as an industry. And then obviously like COVID turned everybody into a coach. And so like, so I didn't know, I was just helping people, because I was still vice president of business development at the roofing company. I just started coaching people, but really I was just answering the phone when people had questions. And I realized, because I was in like a commission focus. This is at this point, WinRate was 2018. So WinRate started in 2018. So this is pre-2018. Like 2017, I probably coached 3 to 4 companies to like 7 figures in growth each by just being available when the owner needed something. And I realized I was putting time into this, but I wasn't making money doing it. And I was like, the majority of my income at that point was still commission focused. Like I was a salary plus guy. I was selling roofing. Like I had millions of dollars in roofing sales, but every minute I spent helping these people, I wasn't helping my own income. And I'm like, I got to start monetizing this time. Yeah. So that was end of 2017, 2018, WinRate started. End of 2018, I went full-time coach. And for the last 6 years, basically, I've been full-time business coach. And that journey's been ups and downs. Obviously, we had a real fall off when COVID happened and then kind of picked back up, and then real business started in 23. When the government money ran out, you had to become a real business owner and really start like making decisions. And like, it wasn't easy. And then 24 was a dip year for us. Like that was the first year we were down year over year. And that was just hard, but it caused us to analyze things differently. Yeah. So in 2023, I made the decision that like, I want to pursue being the CEO of WinRate, not the head coach. Because I was still the majority of the revenue was my coaching clients. Because I was still the biggest, but like we have 8 coaches or 9 coaches on staff now, and I was like, I need to transition to CEO of this, and like we're still in that process. It has not been simple. In 2024 being a challenging year, we had to look at things differently. Yeah, and so in that process, we started to figure out, okay, what does the current our mission statement is we guide individuals and companies in the construction home service space to greater levels of success. Like that's what we do. And so like our industry had a lot of people who hadn't been in business that long that like learned to be successful when there was more work to go around than people to do it. Yeah. And 23 started slowing down, then 24 really came to a screeching halt. Yeah. Like just in general, like Google searches were down, leads were down, like, and not for everybody, like, oh, Mike, no, most people were down in 2024. Yeah. And so we had to get creative. Like I'm like, I could go fire all the coaches, take all the clients, and make a ton of money. But that felt like such a failure. It felt like such a step backwards for me. So I decided, okay, what would the CEO do? The CEO would not go become a coach again.
Yeah.
Right. So I still do some coaching. We started saying, okay, what do our clients need? And so that's where the zero dot marketing and zero dot management came from, is we saw a big need for, I don't want to say a quality marketing company. I think there's a lot of marketers out there that generally just don't have a client first approach. And I think that we, in our core values and our mission statement, allow us to meet people differently. And so we started doing some done for you services. So things like sales process creation, marketing, like helping you hire, like process development. And that's kind of where this, like, we called it bolt-on. So, the coaching package, right? So we started doing bolt-ons. We're like, hey, for 90 days, we're going to do this for you.
Yeah.
Because in coaching, I'm coaching you to go do.
Right.
Well, what was happening was, what we saw happening in 2024 was a lot of business owners just like, I'm so tired. I'm in decision fatigue. Can someone please just do this for me?
Yeah.
Because like 2024 was a year of no matter what decision you make, there was not a good option. It was like, how do you minimize the bad?
Yeah.
For a lot of business owners, it was like, how do I minimize the negative impact? People were just burnt out.
Yeah.
Tired, and just needed help. And so we started doing some done for you services. And I wanted to build it independent of WinRate, because WinRate was known and is known as a good coaching company. Mm-hmm. And when coaching companies start adding services, it looks weird.
Yeah.
And it's not real. And so I was like, I don't want that. I know what I'm building, it can stand alone on its own. And so instead of just doing bolt-on or WinRate specific services, we built zero dot marketing and zero dot management to be this independent brand where like zero dot marketing is going to be known as a good marketing company.
Yeah.
Is it run by the similar people? Yes. But it's a sister company to WinRate, not a service under WinRate. And then zero dot management became where the fractional C-level stuff comes from. So we do like fractional CEO, COO, CMO, and CFO services. So think like C-suite positions that you're paying fractionally for.
Yep.
And so again, I wanted WinRate to be known aggressively for like the coaching and community, marketing for marketing, then management to be known for the fractional, like you're going to bring an expert into your company to help you run it. Mm-hmm. I didn't think I could build those under the WinRate ecosystem. Yeah. Right. So that's kind of like where we are today. Like obviously I'm married, going on, I think we're 13 years this year.
Okay.
2 sons, 9 and 6.
Yeah.
We live in Greenville, South Carolina. And I guess that catches you up to the background, how we got to where we are today.
Here you are. And here you are today, because you're coaching someone here in Dallas today.
Yeah. So I've taken on more fractional leadership roles.
Yeah.
Because I just recognize that like I operate at a pace most people can't keep up with. Like you kind of experienced that, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I operate at a pace that most people can't keep up with. And so instead of like having to coach you to do 27 things, I'm going to come in and take your leadership team and evolve them to the next level.
Yeah.
So my focus now is taking companies in that like 5 to 10 million and getting them to 20 to 30.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like, that's my new, like where I'm spending most of my time. And so that's more of I am now just a fractional leader. Like I am COO, CEO, whatever you want to call it, depending on the company. So I have a couple of those right now that I'm basically running. And one of them is a roofing company here in Dallas. One's a builder in Greenville. But the builder in Greenville is a $50 million company.
Yeah.
I'm coming in to take them to 100. And like they basically handed over the keys. Like my title's COO because there's 2 owners that are basically CEO. But really, I'm CEO. Like if I look at my job description, like he's visionary, but I'm in the day. I'm running the day-to-day of the company. So COO is probably the right title for it. But they basically handed me the keys.
Yeah.
And we're like, you're better at this than we are. We're here to support you and like go do ownership stuff, but you're managing the team going forward.
Yeah.
And like, I am killing that.
You
like,
love it?
Oh man, I'm loving it. The impact is so much different.
Yeah.
Because instead of deploying my value through one person, I'm now deploying it through 6 directors.
Yeah.
So now I'm leading the 6 directors and like I'm multiplying the impact as opposed to me going through one person, the owner.
Yeah.
I'm going through the leadership team, and like most leaders want to be led. They want accountability. And like not all CEOs are great at that.
Yeah.
And like that's where I shine. And so like now my skill set's being able to land differently because it's being multiplied differently, and I'm spending more time in the business.
Yeah.
And so it's helped from an execution perspective because the team now views me as a leader and the accountability is there. But also I'm more involved, so I have more data, I have more information. I'm more I was never in your business, right? Like you were a coaching client, you came to me, we did coaching calls. You always came to the calls with something you need help with, but I wasn't in it to know what you needed.
Yeah,
I require you to tell me what you're looking for, and I can look at P&Ls, and we built the CRM out, like we did some stuff.
Yeah,
but it's still I'm not in it day to day to be able to pinpoint the gaps.
Right.
When I'm in it day to day, I can pinpoint the gaps like that.
Yeah.
And so the speed now of the whole team evolving, it multiplies wildly.
So if you're in it day to day, how much time are you giving each one per day?
I mean, like it's like when I say day to day, it's not daily activity.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because one of the requirements is you have to have a leadership team in place. There may not be a leadership team in charge. You don't need a leadership team in place. Like, I'm not running your departments.
Yeah.
Right. I'm helping lead the team. And so like, I've been gone for 10 days. Right. And like, I'm checking in, like I'm paying attention every day. Mm-hmm. So some days might be 5 hours of meetings with a specific company. And some days I might go 3 days and not be involved much at all.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm always paying attention. I'm more involved in the data. I'm more involved in what's happening. I'm more involved in the initiative creation and accountability.
Yeah.
I'm more involved. Like, I helped, the builder in Greenville rewrite their core values. Like, that was a heavy couple days, and then it was like nothing. Right. Yeah. And so it's just like you. Like, how do you spend every day inside of your business? Probably not.
No.
So it's the same thing. It's no different than any leader or owner will say. Like, it's fractional. You're not 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. But when you're needed, you're needed.
Yeah.
Right. And like, when a problem gets to my desk, it's because I'm the last line of defense. But like, that doesn't happen every day.
Yeah.
It happens once every 7 to 10 days.
Do you ever find any pushback from the leadership team of someone like you coming in?
Oh yeah. Major. So like, we'll use, it's called the Barn Doco. Like, they do custom barn dominiums in the Carolinas and Tennessee, expanding later, but like right now that's where we're at. So we're operating out of 6 primary cities, and we cover like 120 counties. Like, it's a pretty substantial. We have probably 65 or 70 internal employees, and then all this, the sub base and stuff. But like, that leadership team had major concerns because like, they didn't buy into me. They bought into TJ.
Yeah.
Right. The owner. They didn't think that someone could come in from the outside and step into leading them. And it took, I give TJ and Ross, the 2 owners, but mostly TJ's the visionary by far. And he was able to sell the vision and deliver a level of confidence in me to his team. But it took me probably 90 days to earn their trust.
Yeah. And
like, most leaders believe that no one can do their job better than they can. That's common, right?
Totally.
And so until I can come in and prove to you that I can actually bring you value, of course you should question it. Because this isn't a small company. These guys are making 6 figures, multiple 6 figures. Like, these are not like $60,000 leaders, right? These are high experienced leaders saying, who's this guy coming in and tell me how to do my job? And I think I'm not that type of leader. I might have heavy accountability, but I'm not like a my way or the highway guy. Yeah. I'm a collaborative coach, right? Because that's how I learned how to do it. Like, I have to collaborate with you to give you coaching.
Yeah.
So I do the same thing with them. And I think meeting them where they are and understanding and showing how this vision I bring to the table and then this ability to integrate it makes everybody's life better. It took time.
Yeah.
But I think every company's going to be different, and not every company is ready for that type of like involvement.
Yeah.
Like, many are not.
So you coming in, what does that free TJ up to do?
Dream bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so like he's able now to explore like capital stuff to help us scale. He's able to explore new markets more effectively. He's able to just build a bigger vision that I can then, if I look at like, if I'm managing the 90-day view, he's managing like the 18-month view now.
Yeah.
Where he was stuck in that 9-month view. And so he's able to just think differently, like more strategic partnerships, more strategic relationships, more time spent on, capital situations and like building us to get ready to because he does want to exit at some point in probably the next 3 to 5 years. Yeah. So more time with his family, more time for special projects, more time for hobbies. Like, him and his wife went and bought like a farm, like, so he can like go do things with his family. Like, and so it gives him, it's still early. Like, we're still in like that first 6 months. Mm-hmm. So like, it's still early.
Yeah.
But overall it's created a lot of fulfillment for me, but also like between that, starting the marketing companies, doing this, I'm about to bring in a partner on the WinRate side to help pour some gasoline on that. So I took on probably too much, like at one time, which is kind of
shocker.
Yeah, shocker. But I think I'm learning a lot faster. Like, and I've said this the whole time, like I'm the tip of my spear, right? And like I have to learn the hard lessons first, so everybody comes behind me doesn't have to. And like I've done this in every step of WinRate. Like when it went from like the $1,500 package to the $3,000 package, like I went first and then brought people with me. And then like, so like I've done a good job at like breaking into new ideas and concepts first and like learning the hard lessons so I can like set my team up for success behind me.
Yeah.
Because there's more people that need help than we can help.
Yeah.
And so like now I have to be strategic, and now I know what's the right client for the fractional leadership stuff. I didn't know that at the beginning.
Yeah.
We signed some bad ones that like didn't plan out because we didn't know what made a bad client.
Yeah.
We've all done that, right?
Sure.
You buy the wrong property, not knowing what a wrong property is.
Yeah.
So I took on some of those hard lessons now to set the team up for success. So now we have a better idea of like what the comp plan should be, what the strategy should look like, what makes a good client. And I take pride to an extent in like being the tip of the spear and taking the brunt of the force, so that I can make it easier for the people behind me.
Yeah. So how many people are at WinRate right now?
Clients or employees?
Employees.
18.
18?
Yeah.
And you have 8 coaches?
Yeah.
Okay. So does someone come to WinRate and go, I want Mike? And you're like,
not anymore.
Mike's not available.
So not anymore. So like that was one of the, like when we first started coaching, I first started bringing on coaches.
Yeah.
Right. And we're probably 3 years into having not like other than me coaches, having other coaches on staff. And it's probably 18 months, 20 months of people still being like, oh, if I can't get Mike, I'm not signing up.
Yeah.
But more recently, like no one expects to get me anymore. Like I was able to rebuild the narrative where like I'm still the attractive character, but I've done it in a way, like I speak most of the company now of like we coach.
Yeah.
We help people. Forever, I do. I coach. I help people. I can change your life.
Yeah.
Now, switching I to we completely changed the narrative on what people expected.
Yeah.
And like that, it seems simple, but it was a major identity change for me.
Yeah.
Right? I don't like telling people I can't help them.
Yeah.
Right? And like I have to. There's only so much time I have.
Sure.
And so it's not as much as it was. It still happens sometimes. Especially like I spoke at a pretty decent sized event in January. And there's probably 1,000 people there or so. And I'm the guy on stage, right? And so like they're like, I want that guy. Because like in 2 minutes, I'm going to inspire and motivate you. Like I'm good from stage. And so in those scenarios, like I want that guy. Outside of that, it doesn't really come up anymore. Yeah. As much as it used to.
So and how many clients are in WinRate?
Probably 80 to 90 right now.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
And y'all still have the quarterly meetups?
Yep.
And
yeah, we just did our 17th straight quarterly meetups. We're in year 5 of that. So that's pretty neat.
That's good.
Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, so we still do the quarterly. Like we typically average 60 to 70 people at the quarterlies. And it's the models change slightly. But it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, no, I guess something for my audience to hear too is like, you do construction.
Yeah.
Coaching.
Yeah.
But like, I was just kind of like, I want that fucking dude.
Yeah. And like, it's both have to be true, right? Like, but it's more important that you're somebody who aligns with the values and the communication style. Yeah. That's more important to me than what you do. Because my background's not construction. I did it, but like corporate America was my background. Yeah. If I look at general time, like I'm probably even now. I'm old now, man. I'm 38.
I'm 46.
I'm old. But if I look at 20 years, 10 of it was corporate America, 10 of it wasn't. So I'm only now at the point where like my career in constructions match my career in corporate America. So like I believe business is a process. It's a formula.
I think business is they're all pretty much the same. They have the same kind of, if you break it down, I've always kind of broken into like, you got marketing, sales, fulfillment, accounting. Yeah. Like those realms exist in every single business to some degree. Yeah. So,
and the truth is like, when part of our mission statement changed probably about 1.5 years ago, where we said like, we guide individual and companies in construction home service space to greater levels of success. for coaching to work, you have to have some level of success to begin with.
Yeah.
Right? Like I can't teach you how to build a house better. I can't teach you to be a better roofer. I can't teach you to install cabinets more effectively. And if you need that type of coach, they're not out there.
Yeah.
Like labor specific, trade specific coaching isn't a thing.
Yeah.
Right? And so what I believe I'm one of the best in the country at is the development of leaders.
Yeah.
I believe I am one of the best in the country at that thing. Am I the top one? No, but I believe I'm in the top echelon of people who I just happen to understand construction really well. And I think there's a lot of need for leadership coaching in the contractor space. And no one disagrees with that, right? There's a huge market potential for like people who need it. But teaching leadership is teaching leadership. It is not industry specific.
Right.
Like the leadership of humans, human capital, is the same across all entities. It's a horizontal skill set.
Yeah.
When you understand how to properly, lead, nurture, develop, and deploy human capital, it does not matter what the widget is. Because I don't actually know how to construct anything. Business is my thing.
That's what you construct.
Yeah, I know how to construct people, process, and business. And so, but I think I'm unique. Like out of fairness, I thought it was going to be easier to match my skill set as a coach. When I started bringing on coaches, I don't think I gave myself enough credit for what made me different.
Yeah.
I think I underestimated how good I am at what I do. And so I assumed it'd be easy for other people to just like level up and be able to match my skill set. And I was wrong.
Yeah.
It took time to nurture coaching staff to get up to a level that I felt was performing where I needed them to be. And so like I am very good at what I do, but I also stay in my lane. Like when people need coaching for specific things that don't align, I just say no.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest issue with coaches out there is like they just say yes to everybody.
Sure.
And like they shouldn't. And I don't. And like why you and I worked well was because like we're both like no bullshit guys.
Yeah.
You wanted a direct, honest answer and you wanted someone to call you on your shit.
Yeah.
Find someone who does that better than I do.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible.
Like that's what I do, right?
Yeah.
And so, from the standpoint of what we're doing now, I'm just doing it at a bigger level.
Yeah.
And so like staying niche, like they say, like the riches are in the niches, right? Mm-hmm. And so from the beginning, I stayed niche to an extent. But when I find a human that I think aligns well, will do the work, values align, communication style aligns, and like they are ready to have heavy accountability, I don't judge the industry much in that. Because we're business and life too. Like it's not one side or the other.
Yeah.
And so like you might be great at business, but you need help like getting your life together or your finances or whatever, right? And so I'm just the person that's going to help you figure out what you want and then hold you accountable to do the things to get there.
Yeah.
And that is not an industry specific thing.
No, that's just discipline. So I will say this, you probably have the best discipline out of anybody I've ever met. I saw you posted the other day. You're like, I did 75 hard and I kept going. Yeah. And then you became totally miserable.
Yeah.
What'd you get to like 100 and how many days?
Well, in the fall, I did 75 hard right into phase 1. So it was 105 days straight of the program.
Ugh. It's funny. I have people, I've done it twice and people are like, hey, you want to do that? I'm like, no, man, I've done it, man. I'm good.
I think I've completed it 5 times.
Yeah.
The first time I did it was 2019. Like it was before the app was even a thing.
Yeah.
Like I still have it in my Apple Notes, my first round.
Yeah.
And sometimes like, it's just like anything. Like you never get the same feeling you got of the first time you do anything. Or it's like chasing the red dragon, right? Yeah. It never gets as good as the first time. But sometimes it's really good for me to do it more to show people that they need to do it. So I did it specifically last year when I got into like some of these fractional. I'm like, I'm doing this and I expect you as a leader of my team to do it with me.
Yeah.
And I had like 2 guys lose 50 pounds in 75 days.
I believe it.
Right. And like they became better leaders for me.
Yeah.
But like the reason I do it now is I typically have somebody in my life who needs the accountability and the ability to say, well, if Mike's doing it, I need to be doing it.
Yeah.
And so I did it in September because I started the marketing company. I started like some of these fractional roles. And I'm like, if you're a leader on my team, I expect you to try.
Yeah.
And like 80% of them finished.
That's pretty good.
Huge.
That's pretty good.
Huge. Just because, and so
I would think it would be the opposite. 20% made it.
Well, typically it is.
Yeah.
And the difference is typically I don't have as much day-to-day oversight of the people. Like this was the greatest 75 hard accountability chat I've ever had.
Yeah.
Because people are still in it. just maintaining now.
Yeah.
You know, I had one guy lost 50 pounds. He was drinking 4 sodas a day, has not had a soda since September 1st.
Wow.
Like his day used to be a Dr. Pepper and a honey bun for breakfast. He's down 55 pounds.
That's amazing.
And cool. Yes. Right. But you've done it. So you get it. Like, how much better of a leader is he for me now?
Oh, yeah.
Right. How much more disciplined, how much more confident, how much is he better at accountability now? Right. And so that's what I did it for. Yeah. I didn't do it for me. Do I benefit from it? Sure. Do I benefit from just the discipline of consistent hydration and outdoor walks and not drinking alcohol? Sure.
Yeah.
But that one specifically was done to show people who don't think I need it that I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
But I think 75 hard is good if you're in the right season. I think you have to be in the right season.
Yeah, totally.
I think you have to be in a position where certain things can get deprioritized. Because if you don't prioritize 75 hard, it just doesn't happen.
No.
You miss the picture, you forget to read, you just run out of time to get your workouts done, whatever. And so if you're not in a season where you can deprioritize other parts of your life, don't even start.
Yeah.
Because I think starting and failing is worse than not even trying.
Yeah. It's Will in our office here, he was like, "Oh, I'm starting it." And I was like, to your point, he was like, "Do you want to do it?" And I was like, "No, not right now."
Yeah.
I know what this takes. And I was like, I don't think you're in a place. And he's got 3 kids under 6 years old. I'm like, dude, this is, and about 4 days in, I go, "How's that 75 hard going?" He goes, "Yeah, there you go."
No, but the discipline for me, I don't talk about this too much, but if you look at my personality test, which you've done, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Some of my lowest attributes are self-accountability.
Yeah.
And so a lot of what I teach from systems and processes and calendar and accountability and Asana and time blocks is all things I developed to offset my weakness. When my weakness is self-accountability. Yeah. And so sometimes I need 75 hard just to get out of my own way. Kind of sometimes I need it. Sometimes but discipline became part of fall in love with the process and the results will follow. And I need aggressive accountability of myself with systems and processes. That my discipline comes from my systems and processes, not some deep-rooted discipline.
Yeah.
I'm really good at developing systems and processes that alleviate my weaknesses and capitalize on my strengths.
Yeah.
And so I just did it for myself. And everything I coach, mm-hmm. I built for me first. And people forget that sometimes. Someone asked me this once, and honestly, my answer surprised me in the moment. But the more I've thought about it, it makes sense. So the question was, what is your greatest WinRate client success story? Was the question. Greatest WinRate client success story. And I have people that went from 1 to 10 million, lost 100 pounds, saved their marriage, quit porn, got off drugs, got sober, some major accomplishments. Yeah. And I was going through the list of people I thought would qualify. And my answer, I can't tell you where it came from, but it just came out. I said, I'm the greatest WinRate client success story. I am a product of what I teach. Yeah. Everything I teach are things I've done for myself. Mm-hmm. And so the truth is, I am the best example of a success story of the WinRate ecosystem. I built everything around what worked for me first. There's nothing I teach I don't do. Yeah. There's not one thing I suggest people do that I am not fully believing and tested personally for its success. And that's uncommon. Yeah. It's unfortunately uncommon because I haven't had a coach in probably 18 months. And I had a coach for the first 5 years. Okay. Different people through but I always had one. And I'm in a season now where I don't want to say I'm between coaches. I've had a hard time finding somebody that I think is doing something different than I'm already doing. I'm in a patience season. I'm doing a lot of things right. It just takes longer than you want it to. Yeah. Right? It just does. Part of my coaching recently has been getting reassurance by listening to people that hey, what are they doing in this situation? I listen to a podcast. I'm well, that's exactly what I'm doing. So I must be doing something right. Yeah. And the reassurance is helpful because it's hard. But I'm in a season right now where people say it's hard. It's harder than you can imagine. It costs more and it takes longer. Right. Yeah. I'm in that season right now. Yeah. I'm in the season where I'm doing everything right, and it sucks. It's hard. Yeah. but I'm in that like, sixth year of business, almost seventh year, basically, April will be 7 years coaching. Like, find me a business coach that's lasted 7 years.
No,
there's not many.
No,
there's not many. And so like I'm in this between season. Like I hit that like 2.5 to 3 million in revenue, which is like no man's land. You can't stop there.
Yeah.
And like we got heavy on reinvesting for growth. Ideally we hit that like 4.5 million this year would be great. We're projecting in that low 4s. That'd be awesome if I could pull that off, right? Yeah. But like I hit that, like I gotta keep doing what I'm doing. I just have to do it longer.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part, man. Because you want to pivot, you want to change, you want to do things differently. But like sometimes you are doing everything right and it's just going to take longer than you want it to.
That's a lot of, I'd say, well, partly that's market driven too, right? Like, look at the markets in the past couple of years, like you were saying, 23, 24. I mean, for us, we've grown as a company over the last 24 months, but you go back to 2022, we bought the same amount of properties in 2022 when it was like me and Bella and like 2 other people that we've bought in the last 2 years.
Because you just came out of college at that point, I think.
Yeah.
You were still in school when I was working with him. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the market just wasn't there, so that's been the challenging part. But that's where we're at now. Like deals are taking longer. Everybody's just, it's just the gears are grind slower.
Well, and I think there's a lot of people like fearful of the election year.
Yeah.
Right.
And now I think everybody's like wants to see what the first 6 months looks like.
And, January, February is always tough for most industries, right? Coming off holiday season, coming off a tough spending year where a lot of people were down, in general.
I feel like the year doesn't start till April.
Yeah.
Because you got you have there's a ton of holidays in between.
And then weather. Like we had a lot of like snow and ice this year.
Yeah.
So I anticipate Q2, Q3 this year being very fruitful quarters.
Yeah.
My plan right now is to build what I'm building to a certain number. And then my plan right now is to exit before the end of Trump's presidency.
Yeah.
Because I believe the next 4 years will be the best years for small business that maybe the rest of my life.
Yeah. Well,
probably not, but maybe.
I think it's going to be pretty good.
It's going to be pretty good.
I think it could come down a little bit though first, then like really just ramp up. So
yeah, but it depends on consumer trust.
Yeah.
He starts saving government spending and sending $5,000 checks to people.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much for consumers to spend money.
No,
they don't need a lot of extra to go like do
That's
something
true.
else, right?
If he puts that money back in the ecosystem,
for sure,
it would.
He's finding billions and billions and billions.
It's
of dollars.
130 billion so far.
Yeah, so like he's going to put that back into the commerce. Yeah. That's what he does.
Yeah,
like he understands this game well.
Yeah,
if he pays down debt by 20% and puts 20% into the community.
Yeah, yeah,
that changes a lot.
So. Let's say someone comes to you with coaching. I think when they come to you or they come to WinRate to y'all,
yeah,
not
thanks.
just you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Someone's looking to get into coaching.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, no, not looking to get into coaching, but looking for a coach.
Yeah.
What does it start with? Does it start with what do you want? Like, what do you really want?
Yeah. I mean, how did it start for you? You did it. What was the first, what triggered you to go look into it and invest the money into it?
I needed to hear something from someone else.
Yeah.
I needed to hear something different from someone else.
Were you feeling like, were you stagnant? Like,
yeah, I'd brokered at a very high level. And I was like, cool, I've done it. Yeah. Like, you were decelerated. Yeah. I just needed to hear some different things. And I think, then the idea of starting, Matador was like, okay, well, I'll go start the other side of the equation, and a big challenge and the big thing that I think you and I worked through was I was a lone wolf, really, and I've always been like that. I've always said, as far as it's what you're talking about, an owner always feels like they can do it better than everybody else, right?
You were very much that way.
Just give me that, I got it, and that would always make me bitter too, like in real estate deals when I would try to have teammates or stuff like that, because I'd be like, oh, just give it to me and I'll do it. Then I'm like, golly, I just gave you that much, So I think it took you kind of breaking me of that to know that, hey, you're like, okay, well, how big do you want to get? And I'll tell you these numbers, and you're like, you can't do that by yourself.
And I think that's where, like, when we say like greater levels of success became part of our mission statement, because like you have to have accomplished something.
Yeah.
And I think until you've like realized that you can't do it on your own, you're probably not ready for coaching. Yeah. Like you might be ready for a course on a specific skill set. You might be ready to read a book, a podcast, online, maybe a coach that specializes in something very specific, but like we're broad spectrum. Like we're going to help you become a greater version of yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And so the first step to any good coaching client experience is the client believing that for them to get what they want, they can't do it alone. You have to have that mindset. If there's ego involved or you think you're not the problem, a coach isn't going to be able to help you. But our process, if you're asking the question specifically what our process is, so you sign up, sign a contract, we do an onboarding form, like a questionnaire, and a personality test. And we use those two things to determine which coach is best suited to get you what you want. Because I have some coaches that are doing $1 to $2 million a year, and because each of our coaches either currently or previously have run multi-7-figure companies. So we have some people doing like $2 million, $1 to $2 million. We have some people doing 25 to 30 million, like coaches on staff.
Yeah.
And so they're also very particular on the type of client they want to coach. And so we do the questionnaire, we do the personality test, we analyze that as a team, as a leadership team, and then we say, okay, this coach is most likely to fit what this person's looking for. And so that's where it starts. And then, as you know, sometimes the problem they want to solve is the symptom, not the actual problem. And then so we start to dig back, pull the layers of the onion back. And I'm big on like mission, vision, and core values. Like if you don't have those three things, like that's the starting point. Yeah. You're like, well, how do I hire better? What are your core values? I don't have any. Well, I don't want to do core values. I want to hire better people. You can't hire better people without core values. Like that, it's a necessary part of that process. And so that's where the trust comes in and the belief that you just want help. Right? Because I'm going to ask you to do things sometimes out of the order you think they need to be done in. Yeah. Because I feel very strongly about certain things. Like we're not a here's our 27-step process to business. Like I'm not that structured, but there are certain things that are very foundational that I believe need to be in place for you to accomplish most things in business. And mission, vision, and core values are at the top of that list. Yeah. But that's like we start with, what do you want to accomplish? Where are you now? I've said this for a long time. Once you can tell me what you want, I can help you get there. Yeah. I can't tell you what to want. And so a lot of times it could be the first 3-4 months. We're just unpacking what do you actually want in life and business? Like, what do you want your routine to be? Like, how much money do you like? What do you want to build? A $10 million company, $100 million company? Why? I don't know. It just sounds like there's enough money. So like, how much money do you need? I don't know. Well, then why go build a $100 million company? Yeah. That's miserable. Mm-hmm. Building a $100 million company means you have to be willing to lose $10 million. Are you willing to lose $10 million? Probably not. Yeah. Right? And people just, they thought, well, it'll be easier when I get there. No, it's not. Yeah. It's not at all easier. You think, well, when I'm a $100 million company, you picture like if I had $100 million in income with $10 million in bills, I'll be rich. You're right. The problem is $100 million in income comes with $98 million in bills. Get one thing wrong, you're at $101 million in bills. Yeah. People don't recognize that. And so a big part of is helping people identify like who do they want to be? What do they want to be known for? What do they want their lifestyle to look like? What does their lifestyle even cost? Like this is one of the first things I do very often. Like I think you were beyond this because you had made life-changing money before we started working together, right? And so one of the first things I help people do is like, what will your ideal lifestyle cost? Because people forget, people just think, well, if I put a lot of effort into business, eventually I'll get what I want from it. That's not how I coach. I coach, what do you want from your business? And let's reverse engineer a machine that spits that out. Yeah. Right? And so if you can tell me how much you want to take home every month, I can tell you exactly what your business needs to look like. Exactly. Yeah. I can tell you what your pricing needs to be. I can tell you what your team needs to look like. I can tell you how many offices, how many trucks, how many customers, what price point, how much marketing. I can do everything for you if you tell me what you want from it. If I say how much you want to put into it, that doesn't help me. Yeah. That doesn't, I want to spend 7% on marketing. Why? I want to do 10 million. I want to do 100 million. Why? If you can't tell me what you want from the business with a very specific reason, you'll never build it. And so that's where we start there. Like, what do you want? It's one of the hardest things to get people to answer. Yeah. And so that's where and each of our coaches operate a little differently. Like, and that's part of our placement process is like personality types, like communication style. Like Dave, I can't put with everybody. Dave's a fast talking, high accountability, cusses a lot. Like I can't put him with just everybody. Right. Yeah. So like assigning people based on their communication style is important. But one of the first things I try to unpack, what do you want? Because business is a machine. You have inputs and outputs. I can control, if I understand the outputs, I can control the inputs.
Do people come to you after they go through that exercise, do they go, that wasn't what I thought I was coming here for, and it's exactly what I needed? You know?
I think there's a lot of that realization. Mm-hmm. I think at this point, when doing it for so long, people have a better understanding of what they're showing up for.
Yeah.
Because we did our Q1 event, it was all about this. It was like Q1 events always about personal stuff, because like that's why you're in business. You know, it's for the personal side. What do you want? Who do you want to be? What do you want to be known for? You know, what are the things you want in life? Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Sometimes people, like if you've been in business for like 3 years, you probably lost track of why you started. Right? Yeah. Like now you went from like, this is so exciting to like survival mode.
Yeah.
Right. And so like helping people reanalyze, and it changes over time. You know, I talk about base camps a lot. Like, you know, like what is the next base camp you're shooting for? And like, what is it going to take to get there? And, you know, people shoot for the mountaintop all the time when they haven't even reached the first base camp, Mount Everest. Like you can't bypass base camps. You'll die.
Yeah.
And so like sometimes just figuring that out, like, what does it look like? What is the vision of what's next? I don't have anybody like specifically say like, this isn't what I came here for.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty good at articulating like why I'm doing certain things and challenge more. What happens more often than not is people will succumb to the Mike, you're always right, even when I argue with you. So I'm just going to stop arguing with you.
Yeah.
Like, and so like that tends to happen at that, like the 4 to 6 month of working with me, you're just like, you stop arguing with the process. Cause I'm very good at this. And so like what I keep saying is going to happen keeps happening. And so you stop arguing, you start doing the process the way I tell you to do it. And so sometimes just wearing people out a little bit and outlasting their stubbornness.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say more often than not, people underestimate how much business and life is integrated. They try really hard to believe and convince themselves it's two separate things. It's not. It's all one.
Yeah.
It all plays together, whether you believe it or not. Like that's where, like, you know, we've talked about this a lot. I think you and I talked about with you and your wife, similar to Tiff and I, was like, when you start running your life like a business, everything about life gets better.
Yeah.
Because when you're business minded, you can't operate fluidly in your life and structured in your business.
Yeah.
You end up not wanting to be in your life. That's how marriages get broken and like relationships get destroyed. Like when you're a business minded person, your household needs to be run systematically. And that's not for everyone.
Yeah.
And like sometimes it's hard to get your spouse on board with that. But like the truth is, you have to run both equally. They both have to be process driven. And when Tiff and I made that switch, you know, at the point, like the last 3 years, we've ran our personal finances through QuickBooks.
Yeah.
Because there's money all over the place.
That's what we run ours.
Yeah. Like I look at a monthly P&L on my personal spending.
That's what we do.
And it's huge.
Yeah.
You catch patterns, you catch things. You're like, hey, can we do that extra house project this? Because the money's always there.
Yeah.
Right. When you start making money, like when you get above probably 30 grand a month in income, the money's almost always there.
Yeah.
But if you're not strategic with it, you can't, we love giving, right? Like we've given over 100 grand the last 3 years, like each year, because we love doing that. Well, I can't like write that $20,000 check over here and do the mulch and do that project and do this thing. So it helps you kind of manage some of that spending more effectively. Because I'm bad about giving money on a whim. Like a good cause, I'll throw 10 grand at it pretty easily. Like I think I donated something you were doing one time, or vice versa. Like we've given to each other's causes. Like I'm quick to write a $5,000 check, $10,000 check. Well, like if I don't know that, like also this invoice for this like $15,000 house project's coming in this month, like so the P&L helps. It helps you catch trends. It helps you, put money away for the kids. It helps you, like, because we pay the kids now, so we're pulling money from different accounts. It takes a process, man. It takes discipline. It takes consistency.
Yeah.
But like, man, if discipline equals freedom is real.
Oh yeah,
man. Like when you have it under control, and I'm like, hey, can I go spend $3 grand on RC cars this weekend? I know that I can.
Yeah.
I know exactly where it's coming from. And I can do stuff like that now because of the process and the structure. And it also put Tiff and I on the same page. I think a lot of spouses have like split accounts, or like you handle that, I'll handle this. And I don't say it creates a split home, but it creates inconsistent decision making. So when we put everything together and her and I are looking at the same data the same way, It allowed a lot better collaboration on personal finances and the family and vacations. And do we buy the car, not buy the car? Do we go on the vacation, not go on it created a much better unity on that part of things because we're looking at the same information the same way.
Yeah. No, it's that, I got a lot of the financial stuff from, I used to teach like financial peace at my church, I took it there, then I led it there. And that's what got me and my wife so on the same page on finances. And that's where I always saw the biggest like broken pieces was like, I would have like a wife show up and the husband wouldn't come. I was like, this ain't gonna work.
Not gonna work.
Like,
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
And like, the reality is, as much as like Tiff used to do this, I'll handle that. She would say that. We'd build a budget together and she would manage the budget.
Yeah.
The problem is like, she didn't know what she was doing. And she never wanted to tell me no.
Yeah.
And so like she's managing the budget. What she was really doing is just carrying all the pressure of us not hitting the budget. Like it's literally all she was doing because I wasn't paying attention to it. I thought you said you got it. I trust you.
Yeah.
She wanted the support. She wanted the collaboration. She wanted the process to be managed where we were we were together on things. And so I think a lot of business owners, I'm not sure if you've heard, I hear this a lot that like, I want to protect my wife from the difficulty of business. So I don't share anything with her. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. And if you believe your wife can't handle it, then you just haven't done a great job leading your family.
Yeah.
I mean that disrespectfully, but like if your wife can't handle the pressure of what you're doing, it's because she's not been informed the journey you've been on.
Yeah.
Like that's just the truth. And so that creates a wedge. And I hear it all the time. My wife I just want to pretend she can't handle the pressure of business. Well, then maybe you're not doing a great job managing the pressure of business because business isn't that difficult. It's hard, but if you're breaking and she's watching you break, so she's breaking, like maybe you're not handling it as well as you think you are.
Yeah.
But I hear that a lot. Like she doesn't know that. She doesn't know anything that's going on in the business. I do not agree with that process or that mindset.
You talking about maybe you're not handling the pressure because she's not handling the pressure. I think that's very true when you're dealing with like a service, like client, like in brokerage. Like I've had situations where I've totally screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
And if I lose my cool, my client's going to lose his cool. Mm-hmm. But if I act like it's not that big of a deal, he's not going to act like it's that big of a deal. And I had that situation play out, and I recognized it when it happened. Like I thought I lost like the best deal ever for this guy, and I was like, "Fuck!" And I was like, "Yeah, it's the building's under contract. We can't get it." What? And he was like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, sorry. Here's some other ones."
Yeah.
And then honestly, we ended up making a 10x better real estate deal for him.
Yeah.
And, but if I would have been like, "Oh man, I screwed this up. I'm so sorry." And he would have really questioned, "Oh man, is this the right guy for the job?" Well,
and I think I talk about this a lot. This is actually part of the keynote speech I did at our event in January. Everybody's an influencer, not social media. You're influencing the energy around you. And I think like I took it seriously. Honestly, I think it was probably Apex where I really started taking it seriously, was like my energy impacts the room when I walk in. Mm-hmm. And I have a responsibility to take that seriously. Because I used to show up to Apex events just grumpy. I was. I got the nickname the silver, like the gorilla, for a reason. Like I was tired. I was in a season of business that I was just empty.
Yeah.
Like I was winning, but like I had like 40 coaching clients, like building a team. Like I was just tired. And
how many Zoom calls were you on a day? I remember it was some stupid number.
It was like at one point I was doing 40. I had 47 clients doing 2 to 4 calls a month. And then I was a slave to Zoom, man, for sure. But like, I think everybody needs to take that more seriously. When you walk in the room, you impact your wife, you impact the kids, you impact your dog, you impact the energy maybe for the rest of that week. Mm-hmm. And it might just be a split reaction for you because you're not paying attention because you reacted to an email you just got. But you impact everything around you when you walk in a room. Specifically men, specifically entrepreneurs, specifically that high energy person. Like if you don't take responsibility with that, you'll break people by simply having the wrong energy.
Yeah.
Because like your wife just wants to see you smile.
Yeah.
That's it. Your wife just wants to see you happy. Mm-hmm. And if every day this business makes you miserable, at some point you're like, why are we doing this? And if you're somebody who like, you've heard from your spouse, like, hey, at what point do I get to start coming first? Pay attention.
Yeah.
because your distractedness, I'm doing this for us, is not what she wants. But the reality is, whether it's your kids, your spouse, your company, like walk into your office in a bad mood, you impact everybody.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to let you down. They're all going to internalize that the mistake they made that they don't think you know about, that's why you're so upset, right? It happens, right? You walk in, you impact the room with your energy, whether you're taking it intentionally or not, whether you're being serious, you have a responsibility to make sure that your energy's delivering the right impact to the people in that room.
Yeah.
People underestimate and undervalue this wildly. You've heard like, the team follows the captain, right? The ship follows the captain. Like you say that in a way and it's like, oh, yeah, I get it. You don't get it. People wildly underestimate how much your tone, your body language, your facial expression, your reactiveness, your distractedness, like be in a meeting with somebody checking and keep looking at your phone. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but now you've devalued that person's time and they feel it. It doesn't take a lot to lift somebody up or tear them completely down. It doesn't, because people are selfish. People think you're upset at them. People internalize it wildly. And so when you're not serious with it, you don't take it with intentionality, you will literally break somebody because you rolled your eyes or you sighed or you breathed wrong. It's real.
I see Isabel.
And especially for like when you're a leader like we are, the majority of the people in your life are there to support you.
Yeah.
Their job is to make sure that you are happy. Your kids, your spouse, your pets, your employees, your people at church, because you're a doer, right? When you're a leader, people just look up to you, whether you asked for it or not.
Yeah.
I think it's unfair. I think it's an unfair expectation that I have to like be on my P's and Q's everywhere I go, or everybody around me is in some form of disarray. And that's an exaggeration, but like I think it's unfair that like I'm not allowed to be in a bad mood.
Yeah.
Because it impacts everybody around me. But it's also a responsibility of authority and influence and intentionality that's allowed me to build what I've built.
Yeah.
Because my confidence wears off on them. My belief wears off on them. When I'm calm in the face of chaos, it wears off on them.
Yeah.
And so I can't take the good without the bad.
Yeah.
I influence people around me positively and negatively, whether I'm trying to or not. That's the mistake people make. Well, I was just at the event. I didn't do anything. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You didn't try. You showed up. You moped. You were short. You had a double eyebrow the whole time. You like were frowning. You were like yawning. Like you impacted everybody around you.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do anything. That's the point. You didn't try.
Yeah.
And like, I think with spouses specifically, like, and the majority of people in your life, when you're a leader of anything, people want to support you.
Yeah.
And when you're regularly upset, regularly emotional, regularly breaking, very regularly depressed, at some point, those people assume they're the problem. 100% of the time. That happens. At some point, it's like, well, he's never happy when he's here, so it must be me. Because you'll go to work and fake it.
So do they lose faith in themselves or the leader?
That's a great question. I would say they start with themselves because they can't imagine you're the problem because they look up to you.
Yeah.
They assume you're better than them. And like, not like in like a hierarchical way, just like, well, you're more skilled, you're smarter, you're more driven. So like, if there's a problem, it must be me. So it probably starts with them. And then that person eventually goes, well, you're not worth supporting anymore because you make me feel bad about myself.
Yeah.
And so like, I think it's actually a great question, man. I think it definitely starts with they start to believe they're the problem first.
Yeah.
And then eventually inconsistency is the biggest thing that destroys a leader's ability to be trusted.
Okay.
So like if you're consistently emotional and they know exactly, like they might not lose faith in you, but like they'll stop wanting to be the problem. But if you're inconsistent, where like one day you're yelling about something, the next day you're letting somebody get away with it, then they'll lose faith in you. Or you do something on a regular basis that you don't let them do. Right? Like every time they're late to a meeting, you yell at them, but you're always late to meetings.
Yeah.
I'll lose faith in you pretty quickly there. Or I won't have the ability to take you seriously. And that's the worst thing you can have. An employee that stays and is checked out is the worst type of employee to keep. Because like they're not doing anything to help you. They're just there and going through the motions, just trying not to get fired. But I think they probably lose faith in themselves first.
Yeah.
And it also depends on the role, right? Like me as my assistant, like I am Mia's job. So if I'm in a bad mood all the time, she's going to assume she's failing.
Yeah.
My wife is going to assume, like, my wife's job is to make me happy. Like, that in her mind, I'm not saying this is your, but like in her mind, she just wants to see me happy. Mm-hmm. So I'm not happy. At some point, she's like, am I failing as a wife? Right. And so I think that probably is where it starts, because people get selfish, they internalize it. But I think eventually, I'm not sure if they lose faith in you, but at some point they're like, the way you make me feel is not worth keeping this job anymore.
Yeah.
And so they may never overcome I'm the problem, but they'll stop wanting to be the problem. Yeah. And they'll want to go somewhere where people appear to appreciate and benefit from their presence.
So you might have said the answer to this then already, but if you had to distill down to like one thing for leaders that they must do or they must not do, what would that be?
I think that's an impossible question to answer.
I think you answered it. I think you answered it. I want to see what you think if you think you answered it.
I think one thing you have to do and be good at is have empathy. I think you have to really understand empathy.
Okay.
Because as a leader, you have to articulate things and deliver things and meet people where they are. And to do that, you have to understand where they are.
Yeah.
Not where if you were there, what would you do? People mistake projecting what they would do in a situation into people and calling that empathy. That's not empathy. Well, if I was in their shoes, this is what I would do. That's not empathy. It's if I was in their shoes, what are they dealing with? And if you get really good at empathy, you can really read people differently and then really be able to meet them where they are. I think empathy is a wildly important. It can also be like considered like emotional intelligence. You know, I think empathy and emotional intelligence are a very similar thing. But like emotional intelligence, most people don't get what people understand empathy. A lot of people, if you haven't studied emotional intelligence, don't get it.
Yeah.
But I think EQ is more important than IQ as a leader.
So I would say empathy it's one of my worst traits. I feel like I don't have enough empathy. And we've even had jokes about it around here. We're like, we're going to hire my wife to be the CEO or the chief empathy officer to make up for my lack of empathy. So I can see that too.
But we dealt with that early on with you when we were like specifically moving some people on your team around to different positions. And it was like, hey man, you have to deliver it this way or you're not going to get the buy-in you want.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at... People ask me, like, what's the number one job of a leader? Mm-hmm. And my answer evolved into to get the desired outcome. Okay. That's your number one job. And sometimes to get the desired outcome, you have to deliver something in a way you normally wouldn't because everybody receives things differently. You have to meet people where they are differently. You have to communicate. Some people need a kick in the ass. Some people need a pat on the back. Some people need a hug. You have to know that in that moment.
Yeah.
And so your job is to get the desired outcome out of every scenario you're in. And so to do that, like you have to package yourself up differently, right? Like some people need to have the how you doing today. Some people don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Your ability to learn that. And like this is what drives me nuts. Like every leadership book in the world says everyone's led differently. But then everybody goes to school and gets standardized testing. This has driven me nuts since like I struggled. I was not a scholastic student. And so like I struggled this forever. Like every leadership book I've read since failing out of college has said everybody's led differently. You have to learn your people. But then every class I've ever taken is broad stroke standardized testing.
Yeah.
And so like that doesn't teach you how to understand emotional intelligence and empathy and learning how to read people. And I've just gotten really good at that thing. Yeah. It made me great at sales, was really big. Made me great at leadership. Now it's made me great at building businesses and coaching other CEOs. But I think the ability to get your job as a leader is to get the desired outcome. And sometimes the desired outcome means you have to change your approach, your strategy for the individual that you're talking to.
So it's sales.
Yes. I like to use the word evangelism.
Okay.
Because like you have to evangelize your vision. Mm-hmm. And so it's not sales per se, as it's convincing people that what you want them to do is in their best interest.
Yeah.
It teeters on the verge of manipulation. You know, I think I actually, like, I had to manipulate you by telling you what you needed to hear in the order you need to hear it with the data to back it up to get you to take action you didn't want to take.
Yeah.
I'm talking, Jeremy, I had to manipulate you through empathy to give you the information in a certain package that got you to take action to hire people. Yeah. You didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
You hired me to help you build $250 million in assets, not build a team.
Yeah.
Then we realized you couldn't do it without a team.
Yeah.
Right. And so like you didn't want to. You didn't want to have the hard conversations. You didn't want to interview. You didn't want to use personality tests. Like you didn't want to do it. And so like I had to evangelize my ideas of what was best for you and package it in a way that landed.
Yeah.
That's leadership. And so is it sales? Sure. You could consider that. Is it evangelism of the mission? Sure. Is it manipulation and influence? Yes. It's all of those things.
Yeah.
But I have to be able to read, what do you need from me for me to get my desired outcome for you?
Yeah.
Whether that's Bella or Mia as our support staff, it's our spouse, our kids, our top performers. If I can't get you to do what I believe is needed to get the desired outcome, I fail the mission.
Yeah.
Call that what you want to call it. Influence, motivation, inspiration.
Evangelism.
I like evangelism. I think when people say like, hey, Mike, like, what's the job? I think a lot of people, especially specifically in small business, forget that CEO is a job. CEO is not owner. CEO is a job. Like the CEO has a job to do. But people say, well, what's the number one job of a CEO? And I think it's to evangelize the mission. You have to get people excited to conspire to help you make it happen. That is the number one job of a CEO. External resources, vendors, clients, contractors, banks, employees, family members. Like you have to be able to evangelize your mission so wildly and excitedly that people are so excited to be a part of it that they'll conspire to help you make it happen. That's the job of a CEO.
Yeah.
And like, that's not easy.
No,
it's not. And I've been blessed, to have a very good skill set at that.
Yeah.
And I've been even more blessed, and God's been taught me how to give the lessons in a way that are absorbable by people.
Yeah.
I just found a way to really simplify a lot of this stuff.
I think that's a big part of what you do is you break it down to a very simplistic form and give it to you in a way where it's like, well, it's like, people say, you've heard these things 100 different times, but when one person tells, when you hear the right person tell it to you the way you needed to hear it, it's when it has its impact.
And that's empathy.
That's empathy. Evangelism.
But if you look at if you need to be the right person to deliver something in a package that lands differently, you have to understand who you're giving that package to. Yep. Not who you think they are, who they actually are. Yep. And like you have to pay attention. Like you have to read the signs. You have to listen to the little things. You have to see like what triggers people. You have to see what their family life is like. You have to see how they work out, what their disciplines are like how they interact at the office. Like you have to be a reader of situational awareness and emotional intelligence. Like between the lines, man. Like there's no like, hey, here's a document with bullet points of who I am. That's not how it happens.
Yeah.
And like when you get good at that, you get good at what you just said. You get good at delivering a package people need to hear the way they need to hear it.
Yeah.
That's empathy. As a leader, that's how empathy at least is deployed.
Yeah.
Is I have to give you something that I need you to evolve, I need you to change, I need you to do, I need you to be excited about, but I have to deliver that in a package that matters to you.
Yeah.
The only way to do that is through empathy. And it is hard.
It is. It's something I struggle with for sure still. I've gotten better, but...
Well, and clearly, look, you got 10 times the team members that you had when we first started talking, right? You've evolved into a bigger office. You've obviously evolved the platform that you have, and you've gotten new funds going, and you created new entities, and you've created new missions, but it all falls into the same category.
Yeah.
But I think you do the same thing with your band. You do the same thing with your family. Like I think you're better at this than you give yourself credit for. I don't know if you like empathy as much as you like patience.
Yeah, it could be that.
Like you don't want to take the time to stop to think about what that person. But if I said, hey man, like if I said stop for a second, take 30 seconds and ask yourself, what's the best way to deliver this message to your wife? You'd figure it out.
Yeah.
You don't want to take the 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Right. And so like
there you are breaking it down into simple forms of packages.
But from the beginning, like the reason you hated working with other agents on deals, why you stopped doing it, is because like you couldn't control them and they never operate as fast or as urgently as you do.
Yeah.
You have a patience issue. I don't think you have an empathy issue. I think like if I actually forced you to pause for a second and say, let's think about this from their perspective, and I asked 2 or 3 questions, you'd have the answers because you do pay attention. You actually really do love people.
Yeah.
And you can't love people without empathy, because like you love them for who they are, not who you want them to be. Like you're good. I think you have a very good skill set of that. Like you're good at accepting people for who they are. Well, to do that, you have to be able to read who they are.
Yeah.
I think you actually probably have better empathy than you realize. You lack the patience to slow down enough to deploy it.
Yeah, I think that's probably
What do you think, Bella? She said, yeah. Because you're good at seeing into people's souls. I've watched you do it. Like you look at people and they feel seen and they feel heard and they feel cared about. And like you bring a really great energy to people. And to do that, like empathy has to be part of that.
Yeah.
I think when you're in business mode, because you understand how deals operate, you know it so much better than anybody else. People can't operate at the speed you operate at. And that's why you just remove yourself from situations or people that can't like be at your standard. Sometimes one of the challenges with high performers I've seen, and I think I struggle with this too, to an extent, is sometimes to deploy empathy, you have to drop down levels to meet them where they are. And I just don't always want to do that.
Yeah.
Like I can see I have empathy for where you are and I don't want to be there. So I can't slow myself down enough to meet you where you are. Yeah. And like when you get up in layers and you climb the ladder per se, you're up the mountain, you can't always go back down. When you're at 50,000 feet above sea level, you can't always go to 10,000 feet to meet somebody where they are. Yeah. And like, that's okay. They're the ones that get hurt by it. You have to understand like where your energy is best deployed. And I think like you struggle dealing with anybody who doesn't operate at your speed. I think that's why you connect with me so well. Like, like you knew I was a click above you in certain aspects. Like the things you wanted to get better at, you knew I was a click ahead of you in a few things. Yeah. Not wildly ahead, but enough ahead that you're like, I like the way he works. Yeah. He matches my intensity and he has a skill set I want to get. If both those things weren't true, you would have never signed up. Right. If either one of those things were missing, you assume like, that dude can't keep up. Yeah. 100% you would have said that. Yeah. And so I think you have extreme empathy. I think you read people really well. I think that's what makes you so good at like developing deals that work for everybody. The only way to do what you do and negotiate deals across the parties you deal them with is to have empathy. Yeah. I just think when you're dealing with people that don't operate at your speed, you just have zero patience.
I think that's pretty accurate.
I'll send you an invoice for the coaching lesson.
No, I still have one left. I never finished it.
Yeah, you're 3 years. I think that expired,
man. We're getting it today, right?
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. So. That's I forgot about that. That's funny.
Yeah.
Man, you're holding on to that, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I got the receipt. Okay. What does win fast, win often mean?
No, man. How deep do you want me to go into this?
You don't have to go. You go as deep as you want.
Yeah. It's become more comfortable to talk about.
Okay.
So win fast, win often ultimately is the tagline of WinRate Consulting. Yep. Yeah. When I developed WinRate, named it was like, what is my goal? I want to increase the rate at which people win. Mm-hmm. Right. I want them to win fast and often. Right. And it really started for sales. Like the fast win's the best. Fast loss is the second best. Slow win is third. Slow loss, right? So I was like, I want to win fast and I want to win often. Like I want to increase the rate at which people win at life and business. Mm-hmm. That's where WinRate started. Like that's where the name started. But the tagline was generally developed in a season of life. So in 2019, the end of 2019, I attempted suicide. Okay. And it was I want to call it a one-off scenario. Like, have I thought about like what would happen if I died? Yeah. But like I was like legitimately done with life. And long story short, I had a double hernia, had surgery, was prescribed oxy, and like 3 days into oxy, the floor fell out, man. And like I would say like I was probably pretty close to the floor to begin with. Like I don't think I was that far off, but I think the oxy kind of pulled the rug out from under me and I just fell like deep and hard and dark and ugly. And so coming out of that, I legitimately like had to win every decision because I was like one wrong move away from dying. Like, and I hate to say it, but like, it was probably 3 or 4 months after what we'll call the incident, that like I was going on walks in the neighborhood, like convincing myself not to throw myself in front of cars. Yeah. And I wasn't, dude, WinRate was like kind of winning at that point. This is pre-COVID. Like, you know, I'd grown a pretty successful coaching company at that point. Like I was doing 30, 40 grand a month in revenue, which I was like, who the hell do I think I am? Yeah. Like at that point, like that was big for me at that point. And then, but it was like months of that. And like, it was just win the little decisions, man. It was like, I have to win fast and I have to win often because my sons deserve to see a father that's worth following. Yeah. And I just didn't want to be broken anymore. And where it really, where I would say the rubber hit the road, or where like the impact of the decisions really started changing, it was probably the first time in my life that I started making decisions solely on what I wanted. You know, for years, it was what the teachers want, what the coaches want, what my parents want. Like I did what everybody else told me to do that was supposed to make me happy. You know, went to college like I was supposed to, played sports like I was supposed to, got the corporate job like I was supposed to, bought the house like I was supposed to, got the Cadillac like I was making, you know, I was 23, 24, 25, making 120, 150 grand a year. Like I had it all. Yeah. And I was miserable. And got fat. Like this is not 2019, but like I did everything for what everybody else told me to do. And after this incident, I was like, how do I survive this? I remember sitting there with Tiff, because Tiff was scared to death. Like Tiff did not know what to do. She was in a position of helplessness that she's never experienced before, because she couldn't help me. Like I was in a dark place. And I remember sitting there talking to her about like, I don't know what winning looks like to me. I've only won based on the standards of everybody else. Got the grades I was supposed to, did the sports like I don't know how to define what winning looks like for me. And that's where like when I talk about who do you want to be, what do you want to be known for, a lot of it started in this season of defining what does winning mean to me. And so WinFast went off and became the how do I win the next decision in relation to what I believe is right solely. And that was one of the most aggressive separation seasons of my life, because I never told anybody no for any reason. Yeah. I was Mr. Pick Up the Tab. I was Mr. Handle the Party. I was Mr. Do whatever I need to do for the holidays. Like I was yes to everything. And I started saying no. And it set me free to an extent. And like people, I talk a lot about dreaming selfishly. It was like a keynote speech I wrote a couple of years ago for an event I was speaking at. Like dreaming selfishly was the topic I created. And people ask, like, when did you learn how to dream selfishly? Because people don't know how to do it, man. People don't know. If I said, you have no rules, what do you want? People can't answer it. Yeah. It's always like, well, what would this person think or that person think, or what makes sense over here? What's, you know, socially real? Like people get all this external influence. And I started dreaming selfishly. And, you know, it started with separating from the opinion of others. And when you separate from the opinion of others, you start giving them answers they're not used to. And it was freeing. I got super selfish for the right reasons to survive, but I had to separate from a lot of relationships, a lot of people, a lot of, you know, when you hang out with people that trigger you, you're lying to them. And when you start telling them the truth, they're not ready for it. Yeah. Like I had to start telling people that I loved and that loved me that like, hey, spending time with you hurts me. It's triggering. Yeah. You know, your energy or the way you talk to me or the behaviors that we do, or like, you know, the guys used to go into the strip, like going to the strip club used to trigger the shit out of me. Like there's not one time I've been in the strip club I got a boner. Not once. I hated it. Like not one. I mean, I hated being there, but like, I'm with my boys. Yeah. And like, I used to justify it to my wife. Like, but sweetheart, like these are my friends. I want to be with my friends. Yeah. And I was like, they weren't actually my friends. Like I was triggering. It would drain me to be around them. And like that, it was family, it was friends, it was coworkers, it was hobbies. Like I had to deconstruct everything because like I had to win fast and win often. It was basically, if anything triggered me negatively, I had to remove it. Okay. And like I challenge anybody to go through life and say, any person, anything, any behavior, any activity that triggers you in any way negatively, work to remove it. Those would be the first 5 or 10 things you know you should have got rid of already anyway. Yeah. It's the last 5 or 10. Yeah. It's like having the conversation with your mom or your spouse or your brother or your coworker or your boss and being like, you make me unhappy. Yeah. You drain my energy. And I can't let that happen right now, because if I allow that to happen, I might die. Yeah. And it was rewarding years later. It was 24 months before I felt like I was winning again, because I had so many things I was doing that I knew wasn't right for me. To fit in, to have friends, to go along with the flow. You know, it's like the little things, like, you know, people joke like, I gotta go to my aunt's for Thanksgiving. I stopped doing anything that I was not, it was not pouring into me.
Yeah.
Because I was empty, man. Like, I cannot explain to people how empty I was. Like, I did not want to live anymore. I was in pure confidence that the world was better off without me. I was sure of it. I was so sure of it that this was a mercy kill for everybody else. I believe that like me being gone was making everybody's life better. And man, I've impacted millions of people since 2019.
Yeah, totally.
And I've changed generations of people's lives and families. And it started with completely deconstructing and rebuilding my life in alignment with what I thought winning looked like. I got tattoos that I always wanted to get. I bought the watch. I got the house. I made some mistakes along the way. Like, not everything I thought I actually wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, other things I've bought that I'm like, literally 3 days later, I'm like, that was dumb. Like, I mean, you've done it. I know, like, we've all done it, right?
Absolutely.
That thing that you buy that you're like, think that's the thing. And like, but I had to go relearn.
Yeah.
I had to go be willing to like think something was what I wanted and be okay that it wasn't. But I had no idea what winning meant to me. I didn't know how to identify it. I didn't know how to measure it. I didn't. And I don't think I'm unique in that. I think we're raised in an environment where teachers and parents and coaches tell you what you're supposed to be. Reward, you get the carrot, right? You get the treat, you get the grade, you get the MVP award, you get the All-State award. But I didn't know how to be me. And man, it was a journey. It took years. It took years to really like fully be confident. And what really changed, or at least what I uncovered for me, is I spent a lot of time more embarrassed and triggered by the things I don't know than proud of the things I do know. Like, my weaknesses became the center of attention, not my strengths.
Yeah.
And what happened as I got rid of some of these what I would consider negative influences, bad behaviors, bad hobbies, bad habits, and we'll say survived the season, I got hyper confident in my weaknesses. I know exactly what I'm not good at, and I don't care that I'm not good at them anymore.
Yeah.
It used to be this thing where I was like, I'm not allowed to be bad. If I get a B, I'm a bad person. No, I fail shit every day, and I'm totally okay with it. There are things I'm not good at. And when I became confident when I'm not good at, my strengths just took off. Yeah. There were no more anchors. I wasn't spending time worried about these weaknesses that didn't matter anymore. And I'm not saying don't evolve. I'm not saying give up on the things you're not good at. But there are certain things that like I know are weaknesses for me. I'm a hyper emotional person. Yeah. And I got told a lot, Mike, you shouldn't feel that way. You're overreacting. And I believe that my emotions were wrong. So I bottled them up. And that led to me wanting to die.
Yeah.
So I let them out. I tell you my truth. And your reaction has nothing to do with my truth. That's what made me such a great coach. This season made me the best coach possible because I'm going to tell you calmly, confidently, directly what I truly believe. Your reaction is not my responsibility.
Yeah.
But I used to take it so personally. I think if they react wrong, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. And so I would like say things I didn't believe. Little fibs. Little fibs are the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
The big lies are easy. Like, when it, but it's the little fibs. It's the exaggerations. It's the under-exaggerating. It's the way that you coerce things so that you get the reaction you want. I stopped caring about the reaction. You can put me on stage in front of as many people as you want. It does not bother me anymore.
Yeah.
Because I'm very confident in what I don't know. I'm very confident in what I'm not good at.
Yeah.
And when you can get there, your strengths just shine because you cut all the anchors away.
It's pretty cool.
And like the win fast went off and became a survival mechanism to like, I had to winning. This is where like a lot of people, like I underestimate a lot of people do. You are in full control of defining what winning means to you. And if you can get really good at defining what winning means, winning fast and winning often happens a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because I define what winning looks like. I say this. If I take 3 steps today, that's a win. I don't care if you think 4 or 40 or 400 was the right number. If I said 3 is the number and I get 3 done, I get to mark that as a win, and I get to celebrate that as part of my winning streak for that day. Because at that point, getting out of bed was a win.
Yeah.
Not drinking was a win. Not throwing myself in front of a car was a win. And like, that might not matter to you. I didn't care. I needed to set myself up for easy wins so I could build a winning streak to get out of this hole.
Yeah.
And like, that trajectory just didn't change. It went from like climbing out of the valley to climbing the mountain. People talk about this a lot, like winning's harder than you think it's going to be. And I drew a diagram once, and it's climbing out of the valley is the same angle as climbing up the mountain.
Yeah.
It's the same climb. Yeah. It hurts just the same. The difference is up the mountain is bright and the valley's dark. But the angle to climb out of the valley is the same as the angle climbing up the mountain.
Yeah.
It's the same work. It's identically difficult.
Yeah.
The difference is up the mountain you have light, in the valley it's dark. That's the only difference. And when I saw that, and I like drew this thing, it's like you draw the valley, it's like this V, and you draw up the mountain, and you bring them together. It's the same angle. It's the same challenge of climb. Everything is identical about how hard it is. The difference is the environment you're doing it in.
Yeah.
But the people are like, oh, I thought winning was going to be easier. Why? Why? But for me, it was like climbing out of the darkness is the same trajectory I have going up the mountain. It's the same angle. And so like the things just compounded and they worked. Went from, I have made millions of dollars coaching.
Yeah.
From a moment in 2019 that I may have never made $1.
Huh.
And it all happened because I got very comfortable being me.
Yeah.
And the reality is I can't coach everybody at the same time. I don't need a lot of clients to be successful. You don't need a lot of properties to be successful.
No.
And so I stopped playing the quantity game and started playing the quality game, and my life got better.
Yeah.
But that's the story. Went fast, went often.
Well, what about zero doubt?
So no matter what you do next, it's likely, so if I'm speaking to a high performer, no matter what you do next, it's likely something you've never done before. And so there's always going to be fear. But fear actually doesn't stop action. Doubt does. Like you can be scared of something, but if you're confident in your ability to do it, you'll do it anyway. Like I use the example of riding a roller coaster. Yeah. You might be scared of it, but you have zero doubt you're not going to die. Like you're going to do it. And so zero doubt became this mantra that I talked about for years of there's always going to be fear in the unknown, but you have to have zero doubt in your ability to overcome the challenges that come with that. Yeah, the analogy I use a lot is like having your first kid. Mm-hmm. You're never ready for your first kid. You're just ready to take on the challenge of the first kid.
Yeah.
And like, because you just don't know. You can't know. The fear is going to be there. It's the doubt that creeps in that causes inaction. And one of the biggest issues in business is delayed decision-making. It's a cancer you can't see.
Yeah.
Delayed decision-making buries more companies than anything that happens externally. Internal delayed decision-making is one of the biggest faults of a company. And delayed decision-making comes from doubt. It doesn't come from fear. It comes from ignorance. It comes from not having enough data. It comes from you have doubt. I don't know if this is right or not. I have doubt. And can we overcome that? I don't know. That's doubt. When you really get confident in like your ability to solve problems as they happen and not go down that rabbit hole to the 17th step that you don't know how to solve. If you just take one step at a time and you know you can take one step at a time and you can build this zero doubt mindset of like, I don't know what's coming, but I know I'll be able to handle it.
Yeah.
Your decision-making becomes so fast.
Yeah.
It becomes so aggressive. So zero doubt is there'll always be fear, but you must have zero doubt in your ability to handle it anyway.
That's what we'll put a deal under contract sometimes, like a bigger deal, and be like, oh man, I don't know if we have that much money. Will always goes, oh, we'll find it. We'll find a way.
Yeah, and like the easiest deal in the world, if you don't think you can find money, it won't happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like the cheapest deal in the world won't happen if you have doubt in your ability to overcome it. And so that's where zero doubt comes from. It's a mindset related to there will always be fear.
Yeah.
But you can't have doubt.
Cool. Well, what project are you most excited about right now in your life?
So I'm on the final stages now. When's this podcast coming out?
I don't know, probably 3 to 4 weeks.
Cool. So by the time this podcast comes out, this will likely be completed. So I'm just going to talk about it. So built these 3 WinRate, zero doubt marketing, zero doubt management. grab the attention of a very prominent individual in my space. So he's in the construction space, very successful individual, very well known, very great reputation, who was very appreciative of the impact that I'm making in his industry. So he approached me in December to say, how can I help? And so what we're doing right now is we're combining all three companies into one entity, or basically one holding company. And he's buying 15% of the company for $500,000.
Okay.
And
that's
so,
cool.
and he's gonna be coming in as kind of like a board member. And so like I've talked to more attorneys and CPAs in the last 90 days, like restructuring this. Cause I built a trust last year into these three companies and like organizing everything, these new entities and these operating agreements. And like, it's just been tax strategies. It's been a lot, but like we're on the final stages now of executing the actual transfer. And so like that's money that he's investing to put gasoline on the fire.
Yeah.
And then his reputation and brand, his personal brand awareness and what he's accomplished. Like he exited a company 2 years ago for $150 million.
Wow.
It was like a bathroom company and a window company. It was just like a massive exit. And so he's been super supportive of my mission.
Yeah.
And very grateful for the effort I put into like helping. He's like, if I had this when I started, where could I have gotten? Is basically like his mantra now.
Yeah.
But he's going to come in as a board member, basically, not an operator, but a board member, mentor to me.
Yeah.
And we're gonna inject some capital into this and try to take it to the next level.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that's been the biggest project.
That's fun
so far.
That's cool.
Yeah.
This is my last question.
Perfect.
For you. What is something about Mike Claudio that most people don't know? It can be anything.
So I deal with all the same insecurities everybody else does. It just doesn't stop me. And so the reason I say that is, so Sam Kaufman is now the COO of my entities. And he was a coaching client and he went through some unfortunate circumstance with his company. He bankrupted it and shut it down. And he did everything by the book, but like it was just an unfortunate situation. And he knew me as well as anybody, but at a distance. And he wanted to be involved in the mission, and part of that required he had to move to Greenville to do it. Like I was not going to try to have one of my key leaders at a distance like that. He lived in the Charleston area, and when he moved, one of the biggest things that he did not realize is how easy I make my pain look, because I show up and do what's necessary no matter how I feel.
Yeah,
and like I'm human. I cry, I hurt, I get scared. I emote, I am uncomfortable, I deal with all the same emotional swings most people do. I just don't let it impact my activity.
Yeah.
And most people think I have it. Most people are like, well, if I'm like Mike, it would be easier. I promise you, I make my pain look really easy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like most people don't know that. Like I don't have some like crazy fact about me like that people think. People always say I'm shorter than they think that I am because I look big in pictures. Like I'm not as tall. I'm 5'11". Okay, I'm not even 6 foot. But like, but for me, like what most people don't grasp about me is that like I deal with all the same emotions everybody else does.
Yeah. I
just don't let it impact how I show up because I got very clear on who I want to be and what I want to be known for. And I'm in control of showing up as that person no matter how I feel.
Yeah.
And I got very serious about that. And so making hard decisions, taking quick action, doing what's necessary no matter how I feel about it makes it look easy.
Yeah.
You know, even Sam was like, Sam and I talk probably almost every day for 2 years. And he's like, I had no idea how hard and how much pain you're in most of the time.
Yeah.
But you just do it anyway. I've never met anybody like that. And like, if he didn't know, no one knows.
Yeah.
You know, he was as intimate into my life as anybody else was. And like, you know, and what you don't see as a coaching client that I got really good at is like, you don't know that you're the 9th call of the day. You're my 9th hour of that day. I dealt with cash flow issues, employee issues, a death, but I showed up to your call as if you're the only thing I had to do that day.
Yeah.
And like, so people think it's easy.
Yeah.
What you don't see is the tears between calls. Like I've broken between calls, snapped it together and been on that call as if nothing happened.
Yeah.
I don't think it's healthy, to be honest. Like I think my ability to compartmentalize my emotions to my performance, I don't think is healthy.
Yeah.
But I've gotten good at it. And like, what's different now compared to before is I allow myself to have emotions and I don't double down on it by like giving myself shit for having emotions.
Yeah.
Right. So I have emotions, I deal with them, I allow them to happen, I sit in there for a little bit and then I move on.
Yeah.
As opposed to like having the emotion, then spending 2 days beating myself up for having an emotion.
Yeah.
I'm human.
Yeah.
Like I am disciplined. I am rigid in my routine. I am very good at follow through. I am very good at accountability. I'm very good at doing what needs to happen when it needs to happen. But the reality is I just do all that no matter how I feel about it.
Yeah.
But I feel a lot. I'm a very emotional person.
Yeah.
But like I'll get off a call with something, cry, get it together, and like the next call has no idea.
Yeah.
And like that happens more often than people think. And I think most people don't realize that like I carry a lot of pressure and a lot of stress. Like right now I'm probably responsible for $80 to $100 million in revenue and 125 employees. Like if you look across all the entities that I lead.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure comes with that, man.
Sure.
And like I carry it. Like, you know how much I care.
Yeah.
You know, and like, no matter what time you reach out to me, I'm there for you.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Every time. And like, it's hard to do that for that many people. You know, but like the reality
especially
is,
the ones who are holding on to their last coaching session.
Hey, I'm here anyway, bro. I think we're counting this one. I don't know.
Yeah, no, this is it. So,
but I think like most people don't realize like how much emotion I deal with, but still show up. And I know I make it look easy. And I think that allows people to think that like they can add more to me and like I can handle more. I think I struggle sometimes with people who don't take my pain seriously because they can't have empathy for it.
Yeah.
They can't understand it because they've never experienced the amount of pressure I put on myself sometimes.
Yeah.
But I definitely like, I am an emotional person and I'm sad. I'm scared. I deal with fear, but the zero doubt allows me to show up no matter how I feel.
Yeah.
And I think most people don't grasp the fact that I struggle tremendously with imposter syndrome and fear and sadness, and I cry, and people don't know that.
Yeah.
And because I don't do it publicly that often, but like my team sees it.
Yeah.
And my team will watch me break, but still do what's right. And that's like, talking earlier, like how do you like get buy-in from your team?
Yeah. People
People have watched me break at the leadership table, but still make the right decision.
Yeah.
Even when it hurt me the most.
Yeah.
And like you can't develop buy-in from a leadership team any other way.
Yeah.
Not long term.
Yeah.
Good interview, man. That was long.
Yeah, I know. Well,
if you're still listening, I'm proud of you.
No, they're out there, right? No, well, man, I appreciate you. I'm glad we got to do this.
Yeah.
It's been too long since I've seen you.
It has been too long.
And you know, I just want to thank you for at a time when I, you know, you came at a time when I needed someone to you know, change that angle and project me in a direction that I needed to go. Mm-hmm. And you're a big key to that. So,
like I said at the beginning of this episode, man, like I love seeing the long-term return on investment of coaching. Like that, when people say I charge too much, like they don't understand like the ROI that doesn't go away.
Yeah.
You don't lose the lessons I gave you.
Yeah.
Right. And like the ROI you're still getting from some of those things and those moves we made, or just that simple 1 degree pivot in destination 3 years ago has made a lot of difference.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when you were trying to hire her and like, you were like, what do I even use her for?
Yeah.
He said that. What am I going to use her for? I'm like, you have no idea how many things you're not doing right now, bro. But no, I appreciate having me on. I'm glad like you reached out last week and the timing worked out.
Yeah. It's awesome.
No, I'm excited. I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see it continue to progress. And I appreciate your preparedness for today and having some good questions, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Mike Claudio, everybody.
Thanks, man.
Sir.
Appreciate it.